All right, so today we are going to be talking about multi-step inequalities. A few things that we are going to need to remember is that we have our inequality symbols. So when we see an open circle, that means that we are either using the less than, so this is less than, or the greater than symbol. If we are talking about a closed circle, that is where we are using the less than or equal to symbol. Or we're using the greater than or equal to symbol. Now, I'll show you what this parenthesis and this bracket mean in a little bit. But one thing that any time when we're doing interval notation, we need to always use a parenthesis when we either have an infinity symbol. So an infinity symbol looks something like this, or a negative infinity symbol. So we always want to make sure that we're using parentheses whenever we use an infinity or negative infinity symbol. And I'll show you what that means here in a second. So let's look at number 1. We're first going to start by solving. Okay, and to solve, I'm going to draw a line down my inequality. And when I still see parentheses, I am going to distribute. So 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 3 is positive 12, is greater than negative 24. I am then going to start by subtracting 12 to both sides. My 12s cancel. I'm left with 4x equals, oops, that is not an equal symbol. We gotta be really careful. It says 4x is greater than negative 36. We're then gonna divide both sides by 4 because 4 is being multiplied to x. The 4's cancel. I'm left with x is greater than negative 9. So let's come over here and let's see what that's going to look like on our graph. So I'm going to put negative 9 here on the first tick mark, and then I'm just going to put a couple tick marks to the right. So I have negative 8, negative 7, and then on the left I have negative 10, negative 11. So I have here, and I'm just going to move my answer up here. I have x is greater than negative 9. So like I said, this symbol says x is greater than negative 9. And when I see greater than tells me that I need to have an open circle. So I'm going to draw an open circle on negative 9. Now, it's saying greater than. So which numbers are bigger? So on a number line, all my numbers that are bigger, all my numbers that are greater than go to the right. So that's how you graph inequalities. And then now we need to do interval notation. So if you could see this graph, the lowest number here, the lowest number is -9. Okay, so because we're on the very left side when we read our graph, we're going to start with -9. Now, because we have an open circle here, an open circle means that we have a parenthesis, comma, and then you read the very far right side. And our very far right side has an arrow, which means it keeps going on forever. So we're going to make that positive infinity. Infinity always has a parenthesis. Okay, let's solve number 2. So first thing, what we need to do is we need to get x by itself. So let's multiply -3 times x. -3 times 2. So -3 times x is -3x. -3 times 2 is -6. And we're going to bring down this x is greater than 4. We now are going to need to combine like terms, and there is a 1 in front of this x. So 1x minus 3x are like terms because they both have an x on them. So 1 minus 3 is -2 with an x. Bring down -6 is greater than 4. I now need to get this x by itself. So I'm first going to start with what's not attached to the x, and that would be this 6. To get rid of a -6, you add 6 to both sides. I'm left with -2x. 6's cancel is greater than 10. Divide both sides by -2. Now, when you divide by a negative, you need to flip the inequality. So now we're going to say that x is now less than, and we're dividing by a -2, so it's less than -5. So let's go ahead and put this up here just so we can see it. X is less than -5. I'm going to write this in words. X is less than -5. For the less than symbol, we are going to have an open circle, and it's going to go to the left. So let's go ahead and plot -5 on our graph. So -4, -3, then -6, -7. Let's do an open circle since it is less than, and we are going to the left because these are all the numbers less than -5. Now, when we're doing interval notation, we need to read our graph from this left side first. And over on the left side, we have an arrow. So because we have an arrow, we are going to say negative infinity. And because it's a negative infinity, we're going to put a parenthesis around it. And then we're going to see what's the furthest right. So our furthest right side is at -5. And it's an open circle, so we're going to do a parenthesis. All right, let's look at number 3. We first need to start by distributing, because I see these parentheses here. So -2 times x is -2x. -2 times -4 is +8. Bring down our 7x, bring down our less than or equal to, and bring down the -2. We now need to combine like terms. I can combine a 7x with a negative 2x because they both have an x on it. 7 minus 2 is 5x plus 8. Bring down the less than or equal to negative 2. I am then going to get rid of this positive 8 by subtracting 8 to both sides. I'm left with 5x. 8's cancel is less than or equal to negative 10. Divide both sides by 5. I'm left with x is less than or equal to negative 2. So x is less than or equal to negative 2. I'm going to write this in words for you. X is less than or equal to negative 2. And because we have a less than or equal to symbol, we are going to make sure that we draw a closed circle. And less than would go to the left. So let's go back to our number line. And I'm going to put negative 2 in the middle, then negative 1, 0, and then negative 3, negative 4. So on negative 2, we're going to put a closed circle because it is less than or equal to, and then less than goes to the left. Now just remember, with interval notation, we always read the graph from left, the furthest left, and then the furthest right. So my furthest left here is an arrow, which, what does that mean? That means that we have a parenthesis, negative infinity, comma, and my furthest right is this 2, and it's a closed circle. So I'm going to put negative 2, and since it's a closed circle, I am going to use a bracket. All right, let's look at number 4. All right, so we're going to start by distributing because there's these parentheses here. So negative 8 times x is negative 8x. Negative 8 times negative 1 is positive 8. Bring down the x, less than or equal to negative 28. I am going to combine like terms. I can combine this negative 8x with this negative x because they both have an x on them. And I will get negative, now remember, a negative 8, and then this is really a negative 1, gives me negative 9. Please use your calculator. And get negative 9x plus 8 is less than or equal to negative 28. I am then going to get rid of this positive 8 by subtracting 8 to both sides. The 8's cancel. I'm left with negative 9x is less than or equal to negative 36. I am then going to divide both sides by negative 9. Now remember, when I am dividing by a negative, I need to flip my inequality. So now I will have x is now greater than or equal to negative 36 divided by negative 9 gives me positive 4. I'm just going to write this up here. X is greater than or equal to positive 4. Let me put this in words. X is greater or equal to 4, which, because we are greater or equal, that means that we are going to have a closed circle. So a closed circle, and if it's greater than, we are going to go to the right. All right, so let's look at what we should graph. So I'm going to put 4 in the center, and then 5, 6, 7, 3, 2, 1. We said that this was a closed circle on 4 because it is greater than or equal to. Basically, I have this line that's underneath the inequality, and that is indicating that it needs to be a closed circle. And then greater than goes to the right. So interval notation, left to right. So my furthest left, that's here, is at 4. It's a closed circle, so I'm going to use a bracket. And my furthest right is this arrow, which means positive infinity, which then is a parenthesis. Okay, let's flip to the back, and we are going to do number 5. So go ahead and do number 5. And then go ahead and do number 7. And then go ahead and do number 9.